flag is against the wall. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on December 12, 2017. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolutions were within 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona City Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted in each of Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the above newspapers, all SEA presidents, and SEA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under consent agenda format. Any board member has a right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Day?
Here.
Mrs. Bernardino? Here. Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Mrs. Fresky? Here. Mr. Quattrochi?
Here. Okay, welcome to our meeting tonight. We do have one more meeting this coming Monday night to wind down the year. And as we're winding down the month of June here, we do have a couple of presentations tonight that we're eager to get to. Before we do that, do we have any public comment or question on any agenda item? All right, our first presentation will be carried out by our building principals, respectively, for retiree recognition.
So I'd like to call up Ms. McNeil, Mr. Galbachek, and Mr. Freund is also here this evening. This time of year, we have a lot of wonderful things to celebrate. We'd like to kick off this evening with celebrating and recognizing some of our wonderful staff members who are retiring this year, and we just wanted to publicly acknowledge them and thank them for their years of service. And this is a wonderful venue to do it in. We appreciate them coming this evening and having their family members and friends here with them. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. McNeil at this time.
Thank you very much. Dave and I wanted to say thank you so much for your years of service. You have made coming to work every day a pleasure. And it also takes quite a person to want to work in the middle school and to succeed and love working in the middle school. So we share a special bond because of our love of that and our understanding of the craziness that comes with it. Dave and I would like to say something to all of you, so we're gonna trade off. Carol Clifford, you are what every parent and child idealizes in a 5th grade teacher. And I cannot tell you how many emails, letters, personal comments that we've gotten about you and how you have made a difference in so many children's lives. And you really, you hold up, you are the standard bearer for what a 5th grade teacher should be.
Well, if I look at you while we talk, I might well up and cry, so I'm going to try to toughen up and not do that, but I'm thrilled that Carol is here. Yvette said that perfectly. Carol was on my 5th grade team, and I always thought of her as the voice of reason, and that's not to say that our team was crazy. We had some crazy discussions, and they're all in support of trying to figure out how to support a kid best, and Carol was always the person who came in and said, you know what, this is what we need to do. We need to call a parent. We need to do this. And it was always this perfect balance of firm and nurturing. And I had always kicked myself saying, why didn't I think of that? That was just so obvious, but it just so perfect at the same time. And so I dug up for the retirees some just emails that some parents have written, and I just kind of picked them at random, sort of. And one that I came across from Carol, this year they apparently had a spring break when this email was written. It said, I hope you're having a great spring break. I thought you'd like to hear the unvarnished opinion of one of your students. During a drive today, we started talking with kids about going to school. We were a little surprised when he said he's looking forward to returning. He did so with such enthusiasm. I asked why, and he said, I can't wait to go to Miss Clifford's class. on the edge of the seat the whole time when I'm in her class. She's such a good teacher. And that just seems really simple, but it really says it all to me too. So I'm so thrilled that you're here today, Carol, and congratulations.
Mrs. Anafina Caro. We like to call her Anafino because so many people have trouble getting in touch with her by email if they have to spell her last name. So she changed her name for the job, and we could just call her Fino, like Madonna or Beyonce. And I heard somebody say you should have been the one saying the Pledge of Allegiance today. We are going to miss that voice. We are going to miss that humor that you say the announcements with every day. I want to say that you steer the ship during choppy waters. And I want to say you steer the ship during calm waters and choppy waters, but mostly, it's a middle school, so there are a lot of choppy waters. You will be missed. It's going to be very difficult to replace you.
So, and I first came, I worked with your children as their teacher at the high school, but I really came to know you 3 years ago when I joined HB. And at first I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm asking her so many questions. She's probably so annoyed by me because I was trying to learn the landscape of the school. And anytime I needed something, had a question, if she didn't have the answer, she would get it, but more often than not, she was just right there with the answer. So she absolutely keeps the school going, on schedule. I was thinking the same thing during the pledge before. I was just wondering if you're going to get up and take charge here. So I'm going to miss that voice as well. And I was thinking it's such a unique position because I'm thinking here, in a way, you're this weird balance of the behind-the-scenes person, but you're front and center in that front desk too. And so you've done so much in the 19 years in the district, serving the public, and I really appreciate all you've done for me and for our school. So thank you and congratulations.
Mrs. Debbie Marsano, you continually remind us, the teachers and the students, the importance of service to others. And it's through your work with your students and through your work with the clubs that helps us all to see there is something more important than us. So I tried to take that one nugget that is you, and I want to thank you for that.
So Debbie is also a member of my 6th grade team, or one of the 2 people here that are on my 6th grade team. And we could spend an hour talking about just the great work she did with the students in her room, made them believe themselves. As a special education teacher, she took every student and met them where they were academically, socially, emotionally, challenged them, raised the bar, let them struggle, but supported them along the way, and kids believed in her. And to the point last year, Ms. McNeil and I got, she and another teacher, we got a PowerPoint or Google slide presentation, about 12 slides as to why Ms. Marsano should be her teacher again next year. And it was, and they infused lessons from social studies that they had learned as to support their request, and it was really something that said a lot about the impact that she has. And they said, we know who she is, we know she believes in us, and that's just one small example. I came across an email where Debbie's, like every teacher here, fantastic at communicating with parents, understanding the importance of a partnership with school and home, and she would often reach out to parents, not when things were bad, but so often when a kid really made her proud or should be proud of themselves. And so, she shared how this one student who struggled socially kind of stepped up and led that particular day, and that that just made that parent's day, knowing that her child, who had some struggles, was being looked after in school. So Debbie, you're going to be missed, and thank you so much.
Mrs. Karina Nimbert Dalia, the woman who has the most institutional memory of Verona Public Schools. What can I say? I just want to let you know that I see you and I see the connections that you have made with some of our students who don't necessarily have it easy making connections. And I want to say thank you for that. You've made connections with some parents and students who have it tough, and I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you've done for the school. And I also want to say that you brought your love of cooking to HBW, and it's amazing to also see that some of the students in your chef club are wearing the aprons that their parents made when they were in your home economics class. So their parents love you, and they they automatically love you as well. And I think that we will be continuing the Chef's Club in your honor. We probably need to call it the ONEMBO, the club, instead of the Chef's Club. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm not so thrilled with the Chef's Club because this food smells so good after school, and it's like 4:15, 4:30, it's that sweet spot where I'm getting ready for dinner, and I smell the food down there, and it's like, I can't. And then she sends 2 students up with this meal or snack or treat, and they're so proud of what they've accomplished. My time with Corinne goes back to when I started here as a teacher in September of 2000. We were colleagues here at Verona High School. I was a social studies teacher, and she was a culinary arts teacher at the time, and it was great to see how she made kids so passionate about foods and just the science of it and the art of putting a meal on the table. And she even brought us to the Creative Arts Festival, where the public could come into our restaurants, and I was really blown away by the pride that students had. And then you would see Corinne on the side and so proud of her students and what they were accomplishing. I'm fortunate to have reconnected with Corinne at HB Whitehorn, and as seeing her in the classroom, as a member of the 7th grade team of my team, we've done a lot. But Yvette said it really well. You find a way to connect with kids. You will come to me and say, did you know that so and so is really into boats? What might be obscure to a lot of students. You find a way to connect with students, and once you make that connection, you have that kid, and that's important to you. And I have some emails. I'm not going to read them because you actually have more phone calls. You wind up on the phone with parents for an hour, and they come away in a lot of situations because you care to forge that connection again with the parent, and that means a lot to them. I do have an email that you received very recently, and it was from a former student of yours who happens to also have a child in our school right now. And so you have a lot of people who have really benefited from you over the years. You sent me these last week or two. I'm not going to, this isn't saying a secret. This is hard for her. This is a hard, bittersweet time. I think right now it's more bitter because this is what you've known for the last 37 years in this district, is teaching and being with kids and being part of this community. And you've made a great impact, and there are, I think, 17 or 18 current teachers in the district now, who you had as students. And so you've made an impact, and I'm so thrilled that how much you've helped me over the years. So thank you, and best wishes in your retirement.
Mrs. Kate Smith, your time with us was too brief. We wish we would have you for a longer period of time. And one word comes to mind is a renaissance. Can you teach math? Sure. Can you teach language arts? Sure. Science? Give it to me. I'll do it. And your students are so successful. It doesn't matter what you're teaching them. You do it well, and they love it. You make it interesting. You make it applicable to their lives. And you make great connections with kids. I want to say to all of the teachers in House C that the one thing that I truly miss is really dropping into your classes. So, I really miss that, and I miss coming in. But thank you so much. I'm going to miss your sense of humor too, Mrs. Smith. Thank you.
So I only know Kate as a science teacher since this is my third year at HB, and that was the role she had when I stepped in. So like Debbie, she's a member of my sixth grade team. She's the coordinator of the team, and yeah, we could talk about her instruction in the classroom, and anytime you walk by the room, kids are at their seats doing things. It's like this controlled chaos where kids are just actively engaged, love what they're doing. She's running around and checking in with groups and making sure they're collecting data, and she's top-notch in the classroom. But what I take from Kate is just her ownership of kids. It's probably by design, now that I think about it, that you had a homeroom with lockers in it as a sixth grade teacher, because she is so good at, so-and-so, she could be describing me, is disorganized and has notebook, the paper's all over, and on her own, she'll have set it up where, you know what, Johnny, every Thursday, right after school, you're going to go to your locker, you're going to get your things, I'm going to sit with you, we're going to take out the papers you don't need and just organize you, and that's just an example of things that Kate did all the time. She was so proactive, so passionate. On our team, I know we had some situations that were tough in trying to support kids, to make them better, to get them to grow, and we made a lot of progress in kids. Kids made progress because of you. You spearheaded these initiatives. You were relentless. We sometimes fought, but it was always respectful. It was always from a place of trying to make a kid in a better position, to let that child be successful. So I'm going to miss you and Debbie and that team. We have some laughs along the way too. But you just have this way of connecting with kids. And also, Kate was instrumental this year in the mix-it-up lunches that we did in the sixth grade. She had some help, and she will be mad at me by even acknowledging that she took the lead on this, but really she was really instrumental in taking the lead on that and working with the other sixth grade teachers and getting them on board. So I'm going to miss that. I have an email from a parent that from a couple years back. I just want to thank Mrs. Smith. Thank you for brightening my child's day yesterday. He was happy that you complimented him on his new hairstyle. So something simple like that. As teachers, we can humanize a child or dehumanize a child. Thank you for filling his bucket. It was empty yesterday. He had lost his grandma over the weekend and having a tough day at school. That compliment gave him just enough positivity to pull through. So that's Kate. That's just like a simple thing she did, and she just makes kids' lives just a little bit better. So thank you and congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. Before I speak about my two staff members who are retiring, I also had the great pleasure to work with these incredible HBW teachers for a long time, and I have many, many stories to tell, but I worked with you, I taught with you, I learned from you. Debbie, you taught differentiated instruction. I still have my packet. Was I supposed to keep that? Okay, I'm not sure. But you're tremendous. I know you've made a huge impact on children's lives, and I know you've made a huge impact on adults' lives as well. So thank you for all that you guys have done. My staff members, we are losing two wonderful, wonderful teachers who a teacher and a paraprofessional in the preschool. They have combined 51 years of service to the Verona schools. First, I'd like to speak about Pauline Janis, or if you're in the... spend a bunch of time in her room, and I think the core, the essence of Pauline is educator. It's who she is. Some people go to school to learn how to be a teacher. Some people want to work in schools. She told me today when we were talking about things that she's been teaching since 7th grade. So it might have been a union issue at that point. But she said that she found opportunities to tutor and to work with kids in the neighborhood. It's who she is. It's just at the very essence of her, she teaches. If you are lucky enough to have been in her class, she taught you. If you were a parent of a child in her class, she taught you. And people know that. Parents have told me that they sit down for a conference with Pauline and they learn. They learn not only how to support what they're learning in class, but they learn parenting from her. If you are a paraprofessional in her class, you definitely learn. She has a set of expectations that are so high, and quickly paraprofessionals come into her room with varying levels of experience from different schools, different careers, and within a few weeks, that room is just humming. It's incredible. It's so efficient, and everybody just meets those expectations and supports students the best way. She also happens to be a principal educator. I've been across the table from her when she lets me know exactly what she thinks, what can be better, how we can better support somebody. She doesn't hold back. I appreciate it. I'm looking at Mr. Moriello over there. I know that she's a director of special services educator as well. It's exactly what we need. We need teachers who bring that perspective and let you know exactly what they're thinking and how to make things better. And that's exactly who she is. She's an educator. And I know whatever route she takes, that she's going to make that same impact. So she's not here tonight. She's out with a bunch of previous, I hope she's not watching, previous Verona employees celebrating her retirement. I told her I was going to come and talk about her because she deserves every word. And then we also have Elaine Atman, who is one of the paraprofessionals in Pauline's class, who is tremendous. There's something that happens between the two of them that I've seen. I know, Mr. Moriello, you've seen it as well. It's telepathy. They speak to each other over a room full of students and sometimes nod, sometimes blink, make little head movements, and things happen. That's pretty much what sums her up. She is proactive. She knows how to support students. She has great instincts. If you've ever walked through the preschool, you'll see things all over the walls, the hallways, the classrooms. That's a lot of what she does. She knows the environment that kids learn best in. It is a vibrant room. It's a vibrant hallway that she's in, and that is due in large part to what she does. She is a true child advocate. She works with them, she anticipates what they need, and she immediately tends to those needs and tends to the needs of the teacher. She is a tremendous asset to the classroom, to the preschool, and we were going to miss her tremendously. So I have their gifts. I will present them tomorrow, and just know that we are losing two very, very special people who I know are going to be on to some great things in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Freund, Mr. Galbercheck, and Ms. McNeil. At this time, I'd like to ask the retirees if you would please not mind coming on up, and we're going to take a group photo. Thank you.
I'm getting with my friends too. Oh, yeah, I might have to set this up for you. You know, you gotta switch. Yeah.
Our good side. Go high. Oh, yeah. That's too low, sir.
Well, for the position itself, I just want to share a couple of things. Yeah, it's on. Oh, see a little closer. Just want to share a couple thoughts. First off, congratulations to all the retirees. But I just had to quickly acknowledge two in particular. My son Seamus just finished up his second year of college, and I'm thinking back and had Mrs. Clifford in 5th grade, and we still have a couple stories from 5th grade class that have become, you know, Elliott family legend, and always bring a smile to our face. So thank you, and best of luck as you move on to the next chapter of your life. And also, Ms. Nimbo, you know, thank you so much for bringing back the culinary arts when we didn't have the wherewithal to do it within the district. And also, you know, Seamus still makes the orange cranberry cups every Thanksgiving. We always remember you at that point. So thank you, and congrats to both of you.
And I'm just going to add as well, I worked as a paraprofessional in a middle school for almost 5 years. And Mrs. Fino and I would talk about our Marcos, and I worked with Miss Onimbo and Miss Marsano. I know Miss Smith just from being in the hall, and I was in the 5th grade, so I got to know Miss Clifford through that. And like Mr. Freund said, I learned so much from you women and watching you, your professionalism, your rapport with each other, your rapport with the students. So you have big shoes to fill in the district. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
I just want to say one thing too. I'd be remiss if I didn't, but part of the reason why I stood up is because I consider you my friends. I know 3 out of 5 of you definitely have my cell phone number. Deb, I don't know if you do, Mike, but I got a call from Corinne this morning saying, I can't wait for you to meet Cliff because you'll meet him tonight. And then she reminded me of her yet another retirement party that she's having for herself this summer, but you will truly be missed. And that's the great thing about Verona is that everybody comes together and we end up being friends, and we're going to be friends for life. So, well, good luck to all of you.
I also just wanted to say thank you for your years of service to Verona. And I know as a fellow educator, you do it for students, you do it for children, but you deserve all the recognition that you got, and it's great to get those stories back and know that you've touched so many lives. So thank you for that.
I have to chime in and say congratulations. My children had Ms. K. Smith, and she did a wonderful job. I hear stories about that too. But again, congratulations for all the longevity you had here too. And it's just a great district, and we'll sad to see you leave.
So the thing I would add is, I started to do some math, and I said the resident has been 37 years, and that would mean that 35, and that would mean that 38 year, and so, you know, people that you were 15 years old when you started teaching to be my age. And I said, that means that's probably not something you can feel really old and self-conscious about that. But thank you for your dedication to the students and certainly to the district, and your perseverance through highs and lows, because there certainly were endless highs and lows through all those years. Ms. Medley in particular served as the president of the Teachers Association, which is how I first got to know you in particular, and my children have had some of the other terrific teachers over the years, and I think we always look at this like there's this sort of iceberg of impact that you have on somebody's life, and since the teachers in the past where the stories and the anecdotes and all of that are terrific stories, and what you do for any one student at any one time or any one parent is awesome. But contemplate how many years of impact that student then has, and people that they come across down the line, years and years after they've left your audience. And those are all the people that you also impact for what you do. So thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay, we're going to get on to less exciting things than that, but very different and exciting in different ways. We have Mr. Lancaster and a special presentation that does not happen very often in Verona, and when it does, we'd like to take time out and recognize this one.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations. It's great at the high school. We benefit from all of your hard work, and we're really grateful. I'm proud to, as a teacher, a former teacher and administrator, and part of the Verona team. It's an honor to be here tonight. So congratulations. Wish you many years of happiness in your retirement. 10 days after I graduated high school, I left the apartment where I had spent my childhood and began 13 weeks of Marine Corps boot camp at Parris Island, South Carolina. Throughout my time in boot camp, I was constantly reminded that I wasn't a Marine and would have to earn the title. When I finally completed boot camp and put on the historic dress blue Marine Corps uniform, I knew I'd accomplished something that few had. I see a strong resemblance between the military, the police, fire department, first responders, teachers, and scouts. All are committed to serving others. While I was never a scout, and my intention isn't to inject myself into this celebration or appear self-absorbed, I have a lot of respect and admiration for people who make a commitment to serving others and who, through their commitment, accomplish something special. For more than 100 years, the Scouts have offered unique opportunities that have helped more than 110 million Americans learn about responsible citizenship, character development, and self-reliance. Scouts are role models, and they stand for a lot of what we all admire. Two of our students, Philip Shively and Adam Kazanfer, have made an impressive commitment and accomplished something that few have. Each has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. According to the Boy Scouts oath, Scouts are to help other people at all times. Such thinking requires a massive commitment and great sacrifice. Philip and Adam, we're proud of both of you. You're both role models for young Scouts and for students throughout Verona and for all the children you come in contact with. I'd like to congratulate both of you, ask both of you to come up here for a photo, and well done, and if you could come up and join us for a quick photo and a quick round of applause.
Just a few quick words on this as well. I had the pleasure of serving as Scoutmaster and Troop Kid in Verona for a number of years. And I happened to be Scoutmaster when both Philip and I was going to say Todd, but Adam both joined the troop, and I've seen them grow up through those eyes. And they're both outstanding young men and really exemplified all that's great about scouting. And I'm proud to see both of you accomplish this. I'm also super proud that Philip stayed with it because his dad took over as Scoutmaster so that I could step down. So thank you as well, Phil. And wishing you both all the best. Thanks.
Guys, the thing that what you've accomplished is a very unique thing. Like I said before, you should be very, very proud of it. And just contemplate as you go through life. Always remember how much work it took to do what you did, and that you succeeded at doing it, and you persevered. And it'd be hard to think about something else that's going to come up in life that you couldn't do the same one. So congratulations. Okay. Our next presentation is Ms. Adele Fortuna, who has another special presentation. Again, one that we don't do very often, and this is around National Honor Society.
Thank you for having me this evening. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk about the Verona High School National Honor Society program. So National Honor Society happens towards the end of a student's educational career. So it's teachers like here in front of us and parents here that have helped all of these students to get to this point. So thank you for parents and teachers, all your support for these students throughout their educational career. On May 22nd, the National Honor Society inducted 50 juniors and recognized 57 seniors. The National Honor Society officers Garrett Percival, Margarita Kusalu, and Anna Wyszynski, and guest speakers VHS staff Alexander Kelly, Nathan Scott, and Dr. Marie Meyer were essential to the success of the induction. Just to tell you a little bit about how students get inducted to National Honor Society, in order to be inducted into the Verona High School chapter of the National Honor Society, inductees must meet a 3.850 GPA, complete a total of 15 hours of peer tutoring, provide evidence of leadership roles and service activities, and exemplify the 4 pillars of NHS, which are character, scholarship, leadership, and service. Once they've been inducted into National Honor Society, in order to retain their membership during their senior year, current members must complete 25 hours of peer tutoring, participate in various community service activities, and attend school-sponsored events. Some of the events that our members took part in and helped execute was the VHS Back to School Night, the 8th grade orientation, the SCA food truck and Harlem Wizards game. We host a Genius Bar here, which is extra help during study halls and lunch. They've helped within the Nets Angel Gala and also Verona Share the Light Night. These events would not have been as successful without the NHS members. So to demonstrate how active our chapter was this year, all students logged electronically their hours. So junior members logged a total of 817 hours, and senior members logged a total of 1,463 hours. This resulted in an impressive grand total of 2,280 hours of community service and peer tutoring. This is evident that the students of Verona High School chapter of National Honor Society have proven to be dedicated not only to improving the culture of Verona High School, but giving back to the Verona community as well. I am very proud to be the advisor of the VHS chapter of the National Honor Society and honored to work with such an outstanding group of students. Thank you very much, Board of Education, for providing our students with the opportunity to take part in such a prestigious program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Del Fortuna. We had the induction ceremony was the last meeting? It coincided with our board meeting. So one of the few things you hope to do is more celebrate these sorts of things. So thank you for coming tonight. All right, our final presentation tonight is Mr. Merkler, our Director of Athletics and Special Programs with the Spring Sports presentation.
All right, good evening, guys. So I'm here to present our spring sports seasons. It was, again, a very successful season for our spring athletes as we captured a number of championships, including division titles, sectional titles, and a group championship as well. So our boys tennis team advanced to the quarterfinals of the North 2 Group 1 state sectional playoffs. They were the consolation bracket runners-up at the Essex County tournament, and they finished with an overall record of 7-15. Our first singles player, Andrew Sieglin, as well as our doubles team of Max Batson and Henry Wirtz were named second team All-SEC Liberty Division. Henry Noren and Brian Fury were also named honorable mention All-SEC Liberty Division team. Our softball team finished with an 11-14 record this year and by far the toughest conference in the state. They are the number 6 seed in the North 2 Group 2 state tournament, where they made it all the way to the sectional semifinals. They also made their first ever appearance in the Essex County tournament semifinals at Ivy Hill Park. Christina Colon had an absolutely dominant season, being named first team All-American Division. She struck out 238 batters on the season, which means there's an average of 9.5 strikeouts per game, which is basically 3 innings of not putting the ball in play. So she had a great season as a sophomore, and then is going to have an even better season next year, which is senior again. Julia Rigney was named second team All-Division, while Melanie Naris and Jessie Loudon were both named honorable mention. Our boys lacrosse team had a very bright future after graduating 10 seniors last year. They were a young team that steadily improved and had finished with a 6-12 record. The highlight of the year was beating Columbia High School for the first time in school history. Matt Aldiro was named first team All-Liberty Division and All-Kimber Division as well, while Jared Keating, Harrison Keating, and Jack Lonsinger were named second team All-Liberty Division. Jared and Harrison also received All-Kimber honors. Matt Dadia also earned honorable mention honors. Girls lacrosse finished with a 10-8 record on the year, which is good for second in the Freedom South Division. They advanced to the quarterfinals of both the county and the state tournaments, while Maggie Lonsinger, Maggie Ashley, and Cece Quarter all earned first team All-Division honors. Clara Frizzy and Lara Toll earned second team All-Division honors, and Skylar Friedman earned honorable mention. Cece Quarter was selected to play in the state All-Star game this past Sunday, and both Cece and Maggie will play at the collegiate level next year. Our baseball team finished with a 12-13 record in an extremely competitive Liberty Division. They won their first round ECT game and qualified for the state tournament as a number 9 seed. For the third year in a row, we were victorious in our rivalry game versus Cedar Grove at Yogi Berra Stadium. We won that game 2-1 in 11 innings. Ian Metzger earned first team All-Liberty Division honors, while Anthony Zamloot and Stephen Prisco captured honorable mention honors. Our girls spring track and field team captured their second consecutive SEC championship while also finishing undefeated in the dual meet season for the second straight year. They were named the top small school at the Essex County Relays, and they also medaled at the Penn Relays. Our sprint medley team of Olivia Fiore, Brianna Rigney, Alex DeVivo, and Kate Ashley set a new school record, and they won first place at the Essex County Relays. Kate was again the state sectional champion in the 800, and we also had 12 girls qualify for the group championships. We had a number: Brianna Rigney, Alex DeVivo, Alex Holland, Aaron Petrino, Juliana Spina, Carolyn Feely, Lily Peninchietti, Gabriella Petty, and Krishma Parikh. All right, so it was a great turnout for our girls' track and field team. Our boys' track and field team, who we actually have some members here tonight, they finished with a 6-1 record this season and took second at the SEC Championships for the Colonial Division. Our 4x800 team of David Navarro, Mark Walsh, Jason Seelan, and Mark Maglione were state sectional champions. They broke the school record twice, and they placed 4th overall at the Group 1 championships. Isaac Scrivanik was the SEC Colonial Division champion in both the javelin and the discus. Owen Fogarty was the SEC Colonial Division champion and the Essex County champion in the pole vault. He took second at the group championships, and he broke a 44-year-old school record, clearing 14 feet in the pole vault. Isaac, Owen, and Peter Farley all made first team All-Division, while Nick Giuliano made second team, and Jason Seelan earned honorable mention honors. And then finally, golf, who I'll also introduce in a second. They capped off our season by winning the North 2 Section 1 state championship for the first time in 19 years. They also finished second in the conference with a 10-2 record, and second in the Liberty Division conference tournament. And Jack Strapoli is the overall Group 1 individual state champion. So over the past 6 seasons, our student athletes have won 10 conference championships, 8 sectional titles, and 3 group titles. So it's definitely been a great 2 years here, 2-year run for us. So we have a couple special people in the audience tonight. Kate Ashley couldn't make it, but she won the state championship for the 2nd straight year in the 800. So the guys that are here, I'm going to announce you guys, so if you guys can remain standing once I announce you. All right, so we have David Navarro, Mark Walsh, Jason Seelan, and Mark Maglione. And they're the state champions of 4x800. We also have members of our state championship golf team: Tyler Jackson, Dan Gibson, Ethan Trigiano, and Jack Strapoli. And then finally, we also have our individual Group 1 state champion, Jack Strapoli. Our golf coach is also in the audience tonight, Eric McElroy. For the 3rd straight year, Coach McElroy has won a sectional title, which I know he probably doesn't like me saying that, but he won a basketball sectional title 3 years ago, I guess you consider it now. And last year won a sectional and group title in basketball, and this year won a sectional title in golf. So congrats, Coach. So if we do a quick photo op. You take it? Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. So a few updates, some housekeeping. So one of the items that has been posted to the district website is the annual Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights school and district report card. That's really based on our school safety teams doing a self-assessment at each school each year. So the report card that is up there is the 2016-17 report card. Obviously, we're in the 17-18 year right now. Our teams are finishing up, if they have not already done so, this year's self-assessment. That gets populated into the Department of Education website, and we won't receive that report until many months from now. So we did receive that report. We do post it up on our website, so it is under Parent Resources under Anti-Bullying, but it is primarily right now as well on the announcements section. So it is up there for people who wanted to go take a look. This is really a reflective practice based on a rubric around guiding principles and different themes with a scoring rubric that our school safety teams do a self-assessment on and then report out each year. And then use that as an instrument to refine our instructional practices, our investigation practices, and our remedial practices when matters that relate to harassment, intimidation, or bullying occur in our schools, to make sure that we have the best protocols and interventions as possible in order to make sure that school is a safe place for our children. And it also really has our teams reflect and take a look at what the curriculum has embedded within it in order to be proactive rather than just reactive in educating our children. The second topic that I wanted to talk about, just give a brief update, we a number of months ago did talk about Positive Coaching Alliance, our partnership with the non-for-profit group. We discussed this in athletic committee and as a board of education. We also sent out a press release a few weeks ago to apprise the entire community of what the Positive Coaching Alliance is and the work that we would be doing in providing support and professional development with our coaches, and an opportunity for our coaches with Mr. Merkler and the Positive Coaching Alliance to work together and to collaborate and share best practices. So the first professional development session did occur this past week on Thursday, June 7th. We had 2 sessions. We had during the afternoon professional development day, we had a 2-hour session for in-district staff members and an after-school session from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock for our out-of-district coaches and some other staff members who had conflicts during the day. So it was a huge success. We had received some positive feedback from our coaches and from Mr. Merkler, and there will be a lot more follow-up. This is going to be at a minimum a 3-year commitment and partnership with Positive Coaching Alliance, and for all intents and purposes, the first session was very productive, and Mr. Merkler will follow up with the support with our coaches moving forward. On the strategic plan, we've done a great deal of work this year with the steering committee, highlighting and outlining the 6 strategies. Each of those 6 strategies then had 6 individual action teams with administration and staff that would oversee and guide and facilitate each of those action teams. In addition to that, we had a number of community stakeholders, well over 70 people within the community, both within the district, Board of Education members, administration, teachers, parents, and other community members participated in it. Happy to report back to the board, as I shared via email, that we do have our draft plan of the strategic plan completed. So the 6 action teams over the past 3 months have done an incredible job of providing us that feedback. Mr. Miller and I met with the action team leaders a few weeks ago, received more feedback from them, have the draft plans. Mr. Miller and I went through, made sure that there was not duplication, and we made sure that they were all aligned. And we met with Dr. Judy Ferguson, who is our consultant, to review it with her. She's given us the thumbs up after a few recommendations. I've shared that with the board. It's now with the board for review. And within the next few weeks, I think that we'll come to some closure on it and be able to, once the board has an opportunity to review it and have some dialogue around it, be able to communicate it out to the public and share it out through School Messenger and put it up on our website. And naturally, we'll also get the one-page graphic that everybody is used to seeing on our website and in our classrooms, so that way it's very visible in the commitment and the work that everybody has done in the district. So I just want to tip my hat off to all of the participants, all of the community members who spent a great deal amount of time working on it. It was many, many hours and a lot of wonderful feedback. and the 5-year strategic plan certainly guides us into the next 5 years, and it allows us to really chart the course as to where we're going next, and it keeps us focused. So thank you to all of those community members and staff members who made it happen. And then last but not least, we had a few weeks ago, we had the Creative Arts Festival on May 30th here at the high school, the annual Creative Arts Festival. So I just want to recognize the VHS chapter of the National Art Honor Society for their participation. Mrs. Sherman has done an incredible job each and every year. For those of you who attend the Arts Festival, you can see so many different things from our students' art projects, students performing in the front foyer, singing, playing instruments, right here in the Learning Commons, doing one-act plays with Mr. Munoz, and our drama students at the high school. I also want to recognize Mrs. Nardino, who applied for a grant through Investors Bank and received a $5,000 grant, which went directly to, I think it was 7 art boards for Ms. Sherman.
Yeah, the new display boards.
The new display boards. So
Yeah, and the background to those display boards is the old ones that you saw there, because we still need to use some of them, they're 30 years old. So there were boards that were falling last year at the show, and then I knew that these grants were available for investors, so.
So that really helped out tremendously. We also, I'd like to recognize Mrs. J, our elementary art teacher. She was there with our students doing face painting and hand painting and supporting a fundraiser for the Hearts of Hope. We had Mr. Atkins, who was there with the engineering club, and they were working on their presentations in the old gym for CAD, STEM, and STEAM. And we had Mr. Clancy, Mrs. Sheebist, Mr. Lynch, and Mr. Morton there with our students in the front foyer and doing presentations. And it was just a wonderful event. It is every year, so for those people who have never attended, I strongly encourage everyone to get out there and go see it, because the teacher work and the student work for sure are really wonderful to see and to honor. So hat off to them, and congratulations on another wonderful job.
I just had a question. Am I on? The Positive Coaching Alliance, is there any form of like feedback that will come from the coaches? Like, when it's kind of like an investment for the district into this program to see how the coaches feel about it, and will there be like routine feedback from them?
Typically, what we do is with our professional development, we do provide surveys for our staff through Google Forms. So I'll follow up with Mr. Merkler to find out what his plan is, and then that's something that we could certainly follow up on in the athletic committee. Yeah.
Just one other thing, and thank you for the report. We're going to talk about the school calendar.
That's I think that should be a public discussion item.
Okay.
The last thing I want to just add or ask Ms. Nardino with the Positive Coaching Alliance to just reiterate where that funding is coming from, because I know that was a question that had come up.
Okay, so the funding for that is going to come through Title IV funds, and the acronym is
ESSA.
and that now stands
Every
for.
student succeeds
Okay,
at.
used to be No Child Left Behind. So the funding we get is Title I funding, which we use towards the reading intervention, reading specialists. There's 2 of them in the district, and they go between the elementaries. The Title II funds are for educational professional development, and then the Title IV funds can go towards co-curricular or athletic training, and
Social,
professional
emotional.
development. Yeah, correct. So.
So that's great. So then that doesn't impact our operating budget. That's great.
Yeah, those are federal funds that we receive.
So sorry, so we will talk about calendar?
In I think the discussion, during discussion, public discussion.
At the end. What if nobody asks about it?
And then we went to our discussion items.
Oh, our discussion.
Board discussion, and then.
Okay. All right, let's do our committee reports, education.
So Education Committee met, and we break that down into 2 parts, and Mr. Moriello does the special services, and Mr. Miller does the curriculum, instruction, and assessment. So for Mr. Moriello's portion, it was pretty straightforward that we have, what he did mention that he wanted a shout out to, which is very deserving, is the organization In Town Child was very generous in donating $250 that went to help offset the luncheon for our paraprofessionals, and it was well attended by almost 45 paras in the district, so thank you very much for that. And that was paid directly to the caterer. We had a couple of personnel changes, and just for everybody's information, these agendas are up on the website as well, so everybody can go back and read them. But we had a couple of medical leaves that we're going to be getting coverage for towards the end of the year. We have the paraprofessional evaluations are in the process of being completed, and their assignments and everything is going to be sent out shortly for July. There's some interviewing going on for social worker position at the high school, so that process is filtering through at a good pace. And there was no professional development to be reported at this time. And then as far as some special education council mediation, we have one case that's going to be moving forward for a trial date that's set to start the 3rd week in September, with another case that is pending that Mr. Moriello is going back and forth with information and family, so that might be a potential mediation case as well. And that is it on that portion, unless you have anything to add. Anything on that? And then
Just
Mr.
that the agendas are on the shared drive, not the website, not the public website.
No, they get uploaded
All of
with
the
our,
confidential stuff.
oh, the confidential stuff is not.
It's not.
Yeah, the, everything that's not confidential is uploaded. Then the Mr. Miller portion is always overwhelming. It's very long and very tiny. But the highlights are, the board policies are going to be approved in the resolution tonight that we have been talking about. This is the second reading for the healthy workplace environment. We have the elementary math curriculum review team that's continuing to explore different, with the Bill Jackson, the math, the
Rich math tasks.
The rich math tasks, thank you. So that's moving ahead. We had the summer, so there was an email that went out, and Dr. Meany, jump in, with park testing, and there was some kind of New Jersey State Department of Education update, and we had to, the whole state of New Jersey had to reshuffle and get kids tested, so that we are completed with. That
That's
happened
correct.
the first week in June, I believe, so June 5th and
It
6th,
did, but we
and then
had
7th and 9th.
And then we had testing again because of the report we received from the state with the memo, and then we rescheduled it during the next testing window. Last week we completed it.
Okay, so we're moving along with that. And teachers are being, continuing their training in the reading workshops. And we had some supervisory, walkthroughs. We have formal observations and informal walkthrough observations. So I think the number is a little higher now, but at the time of our meeting, we had a little over 1,100 informal walkthroughs and 539 formal observations that had been completed. So I think that number is up to maybe close to 600 and 1,200 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, let's see, there's a couple of personnel things that are also being approved in the resolutions tonight, and there's just some movement between buildings and classes. Some of the reductions from full-time teachers down to the 80% teachers are reflected in the resolution, so that was reviewed with us. A couple of movements between buildings. And also we had the presentation at the last meeting for the kindergarten question, and that's going to have another presentation. And then part of the conversation regarding the kindergarten question was that there was some dialogue on the actual presentation that it wasn't completely balanced. So we're going to review the whole deck and then add some things and just kind of rebalance that presentation. So we decided to do.
What we need to work out, I thought, who was going to.
Who's gonna go? I will absolutely volunteer to do that.
Well, we should, what I was gonna suggest is anyone who wants to do it should participate in it, and if it's more than 2 board members meeting at a time, we just have to, advertise it, and
As a meeting.
Yeah, because I will do it as well.
All right, so then we could, email Dr. Denizio, and then we'll go from there and see how many people, if we have to announce it as a meeting. And I think that's it, unless John, do you have anything else to
I think
add?
that's
Mr. Quattrochi?
that's good.
Any questions?
Athletics committee, did athletics meet?
Yeah, athletics did meet, and between Mr. Merkler's presentation and what Dr. Denizio covered about the Positive Coaching Alliance and the HIV report card, that was it.
I was going to say I would handle that for you, even though I wasn't on the call.
Yeah, so, that was the whole agenda, so we're good there.
Did buildings and grounds meet?
We did meet. We had an extensive agenda, actually. We started by reviewing some of the summer projects that we'll be doing this summer, broken down in 2 categories. Items that we're going to be doing in-house, which include some work that needs to be done on the VHS lower field retaining wall, complete the restroom on the lower field, finally. FM Brown will have a new water heater installed. We have some ceiling patches to do at VHS. Clean and repaint the baseball bleachers, which prematurely peeled. Clean and paint the lower field wall that was recently parched, and install lacrosse safety netting on the upper field. We're going to be doing some roof repairs, but we need to review the quotes and also meet with the architects before we move forward with that. Some outside contractor work will include mulching the playgrounds, repair and paint 200 lockers at VHS. We try to tackle some of these every year. Last 2 or 3 summers, so we should be in pretty good shape. Schedule the boiler cleaning and schedule the fire extinguisher recharging. We talked about our architect of record. Is this okay to talk about now? Okay. We talked about our architect. Our previous architect we've used for a number of years has been Land. Our lead architect at Land has recently left and joined a new firm. She was really our go-to on that, and so we brought her with her new firm in tonight to discuss what it would look like if we worked with them moving forward, and how do we do that. I think we don't have any resolution, but I think
That would be next week.
right. I think we all seem to be in agreement that would be a good move. We also briefly talked about if we were to move forward with a referendum to begin work next spring, and some of the projects we've been talking about over the last really couple of years, including windows, roofs replacements, track, just the usual list of items. We're going to need to get the referendum paperwork to the state 6 months before the either March or April vote. So we really don't have a lot of time, and that's why we would like to get the new firm in and working on that. They said they could turn that around maybe in 2 months instead of 6 months, which would give us the time that we need to get to the state to get approved. So we look forward to moving forward on that. The ESIP program, is it up for renewal? Or is this a new one?
No, the conversation around the ESIP program, which it's confusing. So the ESIP program is complete, and what a lot of districts do is they will then hire a consulting company to come in and review, are you getting the savings that you're supposed to be getting? So there's 2 separate things. One is that there was a guarantee in the contract, and are you in fact saving that money that they guaranteed you would?
Okay.
And then secondly, I'm elaborating now because I met with the company today, the
Great.
consultants, to give you all this information.
This side.
Yeah. So then secondly, the other service they could provide is just a monitoring and optimization report where they go through the buildings and they say, okay, well, you're in XYZ school, either the lights are on in the building at night when they shouldn't be, or univentilators haven't been shut off. So they say the most savings you're going to get is at night.
Okay.
Their fee for the service would be about $12,000. They typically will guarantee a 7% savings on your current spend, which would be $21,000. However, I said to him, let's be realistic here. Let's say the savings is 4%. Now we're talking that it's $12,000. Net, you've now at least gotten a report that says this is what you need to do going forward. You can't lose sight of shutting the lights off, shutting the univents off. So, but that's something we'll talk about. We should have a meeting in early July. Let's talk about this again. So maybe the end of July we might appoint them if you agree to that.
I mean, it sounds like those are the details that we're kind of missing.
Yes, yeah, because I just met with them today.
So that's great.
Is that two different things? Them telling us how much we saved, and then the other piece is what to do going forward?
Right.
Two different pieces.
Two different
And I
pieces.
don't mean to sound like, but do we need somebody to tell us to shut the lights off, or like, is that something we know? Like,
Oh,
should
we
be
know
on
part
it?
of that, yeah, we do
Okay,
know part of
like,
that, because
you're gonna-
I
Well,
said
some
all
to
the
the
time.
audience, but others gonna be.
So the public knows, part of the CSIP program is we retrofitted all the lights, and they're on timers in many classrooms, and they're set to a certain time frame so that if there's no movement, the lights go off. Well, however, there are many people, and this isn't just teachers, this is everyone across the board, everybody that gets paid in Verona. There are people who leave spaces and do not shut the lights off, because you can manually shut the lights off. They just walk out and wait for the timer to go off. So no, we don't need them to do this, but I think it's important for, the fact that there are, like, say, univentilators in this district that are manually controlled. There are some that we control by computer, like, the air went on because the HVAC person we have on staff turned it on at home. But there's other places where it's done manually, and somebody may leave the building and not shut it off. So, another quick example, I've gotten an education on HVAC today. One of the things they will look at too is we have a lot of those, what's called a split unit that hangs on the wall, and then there's,
Heat and air,
it's heat and air, and then there's a condenser right outside that classroom. We've done it in a lot of different spaces. A, for those students that need it, and then also staff members who have medical conditions that need it. What I was told today was there are situations where there's a manual control on the univentilator, which is what brings the air in from the outside, and there's a manual control on the split unit. So if they turn on the univentilator, it could be pulling hot air in, and the room's never really getting cool. So two things are operating, and they're counterproductive. So I had said to our staff person that we probably need to take a look at changing over all those manual controls to automated controls, and then we're controlling it. And in situations where there are people who say, you know, I need the air on longer, absolutely, we will leave the air on longer. We just need to know it, and we need to control it. So those are things that we're talking about.
I can see you to the HVAC consulting business, Cheryl. You're doing great.
Well, when we were doing these budget discussions, we were going around the district, you know, it's warmer now, and a lot of the parents would come to these budget meetings and say, why can't we just air condition the schools? And I said, we absolutely can air condition every single school, and we'll just pay it out of the referendum. But then when the bill comes in, how do we afford to pay it? The electric part. It's like at home, like, you want central air, you can pay it through a home equity loan, but when you get the bill, can you afford to pay it out of your monthly expenses? So that's kind of the analogy I was using.
Thank you, Ms. Rita.
Okay.
We also met with our safety inspector for our workers' comp insurance and at the buildings throughout the district, and we need to update paperwork really throughout. There's certain paperwork that's going to be posted to keep up with legislation and laws, and we'll be working on getting that correct. Ms. Ardino's working on spending recommendations for savings in buildings and grounds, and putting a process in place to better track spending. And then lastly, we did, in light of the tragedy in Verona, we did talk about the seatbelts in school buses and charter buses. Moving forward, the district will not use charter buses unless there are seatbelts in place. And that's something that we all feel pretty strongly about, but we need to be aware that that can potentially cause some scheduling issues, because not all buses, frankly, do have them, and those are going to be the ones that everyone's going to obviously want to use reserve first. So I know that information is going out to everybody who potentially uses buses, and letting them know that now's the time to start thinking about that, so we don't run into problems down the road.
One of the things we also talked about internally, Glenn, is that our staff members should plan into the future when they need these coach buses, because there's going to be supply and demand.
Yeah.
And if these companies want to deposit, we'll send them a check to secure these
Right.
buses.
Okay.
Is there somebody who reserves the buses, like for each school, does it go through one particular person, or are the teachers doing that?
No, we do it through one particular person. Well, actually, I take that back. It's not, because if they're field trips, then it's individual people that are doing it.
It's the individual people who are in the schools who are overseeing and coordinating it. So for example, HBW Music in the Parks, the music teachers are booking those. I actually met with our music department teachers at HBW and I spoke to Mr. Lynch at the high school because they are the group that tends to rent a lot of the charter buses. The problem with the charter bus issue, for those who have not been paying close attention to it, all of our school buses have safety belts. But the charter buses, it's hit or miss. Many of them do not because it was only legislated for any new buses built after 2016. So buses prior to that were grandfathered. That's right, through the National Highway Safety Transportation Association. So we are now requiring, and I've met with the music teachers and some other administrators and personnel. We did notify all of our schools last week that all of our trips are moving forward, but as Mr. Elliott said, it's going to be a supply and demand issue. Hopefully, because we're booking maybe a year out or 7 months out right now, we're going to be able to cut it off as a pass and be able to book those and not have too much of an issue. But there is an issue out there with not enough school buses that have those. So we already know one of the bus companies that we have, they've already point blank told us it is going to be very difficult for us. We can't promise you that you're going to get a seatbelt on the bus. And one of the things that we're going to be pushing as well is for it to be written into the contract.
Is there something that we could put into place just to make it, say in a year or two's time, you have a teacher booking a trip and she goes and calls and schedules the buses and is not thinking about, oh, I have to make sure I get the ones with the seatbelts. Is there some sort of form that needs to be filled out that will have something on it?
The field trip forms
Yes.
will have to be revised this summer, and it will have to say on the form that they'll have to have seatbelts.
The other thing too is we do have policy on transportation and busing. I think we need to take a look at that too, to see if anything needs to change in light of the situation.
What would happen if there's a trip and you need for coach buses and you couldn't get ones with seatbelts and cancel the trip?
Well, what we're doing now is we're booking them far enough in advance, and we're asking these bus companies, we're actually going to different bus companies right now, who are actually saying, no, we can provide you those buses this far in advance, and they'll write into the contract.
What if you had a situation where you had a trip and what the need for buses and there were no buses available in sequence? What would you do?
We would have to go to pick another day on the calendar, or find another company that has seatbelts.
Cancel the trip.
Correct.
Then the last thing we talked about, this is a little uncomfortable, but it's something that sort of needs to be addressed, is that it was recommended that we pick up a $50 million excess policy for our P&C insurance. Property
Casualty.
casualty. Ms. Nardino reported that the cost of that is $11,000, but Ms. Nardino reported that, we talked to some of the other VAs in Verona County, they anticipate that the lawsuits from that bus tragedy is going to be
Well,
excess of what their insurance policy.
yeah, so the agent for Paramus, the insurance agent for Paramus is our agent too. And what's interesting, it's unfortunate, but what's interesting about it is there's two claims. One is going to go under their workman's comp policy and one is going to go under their board policy for property casualty because there was a staff member who passed, which is a workman's comp claim, believe it or not, and then there was a student. So they're, and Paramus concerned that $70 million may not be enough. So that's why they were recommending to us to increase our policy. And if the cost of the board is $11,000, which we should do.
What's the rationale, if we're not going to use buses that don't have seatbelts, what's the reason to?
Oh, it happened with our buses too. Because it was,
both buses
it was-
should have seatbelts.
yeah, it was driver error, and there's gonna be a loss. So they're gonna, so if it's coach buses, they're gonna sue the bus company, they're gonna sue.
Right, what that's saying is that even with seatbelts in every bus, we run the risk of having a bus accident.
Well, there's two different issues,
Right.
right?
Right, but it could be, it could be
Yeah.
any other accident too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it could be any yes, coverage for anything in addition.
In a
Yes,
bus that's got more students in it, and therefore you need the insurance.
right.
That's what.
Well, this excess policy covers any not just bus accidents, but any accident in the district. So that will be in place on July 1.
And that accident is not a, for example, sporting injury during a game, that's different.
Completely
That's
different.
activity, that's not.
Do you want to speak to that?
No, because next week we'll have a resolution on approving the the student accident insurance.
Okay.
So I'll speak.
Give an update then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any questions? Okay.
Okay, so we have a discussion item on calendar. The topic is that we changed, we did a resolution in the tail end of May to change the 2018-19 calendar and shifted, it was 4 days from one week to another, with the intended effect to get another day of buffer in the event of inclement weather and people are going to lose school days. We recognize that that happened late in the year after we've published the calendar already, and we've got some feedback from some members of the community saying, hey, I booked my vacation already, can you move it back? Moving it back at this point is probably just as problematic as having moved it in the first place. Maybe we can talk about some mediation that we can make from folks that on that thing.
Yeah, so we, originally the first calendar that was approved last year, obviously prior to this past winter, the spring break was slated for April 1st. It was that first week. Obviously, based on the winter that we had and exceeding the snow days and how disruptive it was to a lot of people, our staff members, our parents, our children, the very, very low attendance during the 2 days that we built back into spring break, which instructionally is not a good use of time and is ineffective. So it's disruptive for everyone, and this is not an ideal situation. Certainly, we don't want to have to change the calendar so late in the game, but unfortunately, with only having 3 snow days, if we run into this situation again next year, which we very well may, we'll look back at this time and say we should have changed it. So we did move it to April 15th, and the advantage to moving it to April 15th, which many other districts have their spring break that time as well, is it buys us an additional day in the calendar that we could use as a 4th emergency snow day. Why is that? That's because we give off Good Friday every year in the calendar, and that happens to be the week that has Good Friday in it. Therefore, that's one additional day that we can build in as a snow day. And as we do every year, if we don't use the days, then we will revisit that as a Board of Education and communicate out accordingly, giving back days in May. But we simply don't want to be in that situation again because it was extremely disruptive. Getting class coverages, because we had a lot of staff members who also had plans, and they were away for those days when we had school during the spring break. And it was very problematic for us in order to manage, and we want to avert that. Now, if there are, and we'll communicate these out to the public, but if there are a few people who already have plans in the community, and it's a challenge for them, we certainly will be communicating out to everyone for them to reach out to us before the end of the year, and we'll do our very best to be as proactive as possible. We have wonderful teachers and administrators, and we'll work it all out, and we'll do it in a very constructive manner, so that way our students receive the level of instruction that they need. We recognize that it's challenging. It's challenging both ways, and we just feel that this is the best path forward in order to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So we'll have something that will go out within the next week or so to the community in the event that is a problem for a few people, a few folks in the community.
Any questions about that? All right, so you'll send out a notice to the,
I'll send a letter out to the community feeding them.
okay, terrific.
Mr. Quattrochi, do we want to talk about the discussion item we had in a previous meeting about moving the April election? Or do you want to wait until we get more clarification from the county?
So we've got very ambiguous feedback so far from the county and from school boards, and I think we.
And I got an opinion too, so you say what you've been told.
Right, and so what I was going to suggest is we make it further clouded and ask our auditor for their opinions as well.
Right.
And then we get 3 different things. So the fact that, as fast as I understand them, there were 2 topics on the table. The first topic is, are we allowed to vote member elections from November to April? The reason why this is on the table has nothing to do with board member elections. It has to do with allowing the community of Verona to vote on budget outside the confines of the 2% limit to the general fund budget, which is where salaries and curriculum and all that's based on. Okay.
can I interject? Moving it does not allow you to exceed the 2%.
So the first question I had for the county suit and for the school boards was, is there a difference in what you're allowed to put on the ballot? In giving your community more freedom to vote their opinion. And at first they said no, and then they said actually there's only 18 towns in the state that still do it, and they have to go back and check. So if the answer is if you're bound by the same constraints, then it doesn't matter.
No, the only reason why it would benefit a district is because, like, we have a separate proposal on for November. If it's voted yes in November, you have the ability to start the programs in January. You could wait until the following school year to start the programs. If you have an April vote, they get passed, it starts September 1, so to speak. The other issue is that if you do an April vote, you know what the tax implications are. So your tax bills will reflect what the programs are. When you pass a budget or pass the questions in November, your tax bills will have to be revised. So you'll get new tax bills.
Which is what happens today. That's what happens since 2000.
Correct. And then there's an expense to the town to do that.
When did it move on 2011?
It was 2000.
Right.
So,
Right.
Right. No.
So another interesting question would be, he said, how many districts in the state?
I believe it's 18, and the voter turnout for those 18, because it is an off-cycle election, has gone the opposite way in terms of voter turnout. So I think the latest one, like in Newark, I think you had a 4-point-something% voter turnout.
The other question would be, those districts that have moved their elections, have they gone out for separate proposals? Because when I was at my county roundtable meeting and asked, are there any other Essex County towns aside from us that are doing a separate proposal, the answer was no. So all the talk around school security and school resource officers, they were all built into their budgets. They weren't separate proposals. So that would be an interesting question. So then the question would be, why did they get to April?
Well, that's why I thought that the town of Clifton was beginning to move to make that transition because they wanted to
So
move
apparently,
the 2% cap.
Clifton has voted to move them back, and there's been a lot of press around that.
Yeah.
The county opinion is that's not allowed. Now, so the bottom line is that if there was a way to move it, and we moved it, you'd still have a 2% cap. You wouldn't get around the cap.
So I thought that when the town voted on it, that would remove the cap.
Doesn't remove that. Now,
That was always why they made everybody move to November, because there was going to be a cap, and if you didn't do the cap, then it would be, you had that option. That was what.
Well, that was the option. Yeah, they said if you.
Back when, that might have changed, but that was what was told. The reason why we did move it to November, because.
Well, so I had that conversation with this woman, Karen Dunn, which I put her on an email, and part of that email was that Clifton article.
Yeah.
So I just asked her to respond and just comment on what our conversation was.
Maybe because it's a tight window, but if you waited another year, the next April, potentially, I don't know, I'm just
Or they
I just want to validate it.
wrong, because we kind of thought that too. So
Yeah.
maybe not done it until the check.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to hear back from
I have to imagine the 600 and something districts in the state of New Jersey. I can't imagine that only Newark has figured out, and 17 others, that you're not bound by the 2% cap if you just move to April. Everyone would move to April, given especially the lack of state funding for the funding formula that we've all read about, and it's madness. Like, why would you?
Well, we were pretty enthusiastic at the time to move it to November. We chose to do that because
We did because
we knew we were taking a 2% cap, and we knew that at that time we were not bound to 2% if they left it in April.
Well, at that time we knew that by moving it, once you moved it, the rule was you couldn't decide to move it and then move it back.
Right.
Once you move it, you move it. So we knew that we were moving it for the long term.
Yeah.
We knew that you'd be bound by the 2% cap plus any waivers.
Right.
And there were fair amounts of waivers at the time. The state has now diminished the effect of waivers. For me personally, I'm an advocate that I believe the township of Verona ought to vote on what they want to spend on their schools and what they want to spend on sanitation, fire department, and everything else. It should not be left to some bureaucrat in Trenton who couldn't identify Verona on a map to tell us how much we should spend. That's my personal belief. However, when you voted in April, you were not voting your choice. You were voting what a bureaucrat in Trenton said was the limit on what you are allowed to vote on. You were still bound by a cap.
We were bound, we had, what, 3%, 3.5%? No, it would be before.
4%. It's cut in half. So somebody who's not affiliated in any way, shape, or form with Verona has decided that the Veronas of the world are getting shortchanged in the state's formula for funding the schools by $1.2 million a year every year. In the 15 years I've been on the board, you could call that $15 million of less money to spend while we're doing referendums left, right, and center, right? While at the same time, Jersey City, that the state of New Jersey took over because it was so dysfunctional and New Jersey was going to run it from the state, has had a windfall of $172 million a year in surplus funding beyond what the formula calls for.
All right, I agree. I'm saying that the math hasn't changed in the last 7 years. The math is the same today. Except we spent shortchanged $7 million over the last 7 years.
And we will, my belief is we will continue to be shortchanged. And I believe that the people of Verona ought to be able to vote to say, keep your money and get out. And we'll handle this ourselves and vote our mind on how much we choose to spend in our schools. Right? But a 2% cap puts a false restriction on the people of Verona's ability to vote. The only way to get around that false limit on your vote, it's sort of like saying, I'm going to vote for president, but you're only allowed to vote for one candidate. There's only one on the ballot, right? That's what the effect of the cap is. The only way to get around the cap is to have second questions or referendums. And that would be true whether you did it in April or November. Now, the last bit is, there has been a lot of news in the press about the governor and the folks down in Trenton are trying to redo their formula. I don't imagine, me personally, that they're going to release any real material change to how much they fund for schools, because it would be difficult for them to deliver cash to school districts in the middle of a budget year. Certainly after the school districts around the state, like ourselves, have made their cuts and staff changes for the coming school year. Now suddenly this from free money from the heavens. State of New Jersey continues to be broke. And the only possibilities on the table to raise revenue are to increase taxes and fees on ourselves. And I would caution that if they do give us the $1.2 million of increased aid, that $1.2 million of increased aid comes out to something like $230 to each household. That's what it would be if we had a tax increase that we voted for, $230 to every household. What they've done in the past is they've raised our income taxes by about 4 times that amount, or close to 5 times that amount. If I say the average household in Verona makes $85,000 a year net income, right? 8,500, somewhere around that maybe. So your income taxes have increased somewhere between 3 and 5 times the amount of aid they would give us back in that trade. That's a bad trade, right? You're charging me $1,000, right? And you're giving me back 200 out of it, and I'm supposed to be meant to do the average stamps from happiness. That's bad math, right? But I suspect that's what's going to happen, because unless they cut it from someplace else, and they're, I don't know, maybe $80 billion underwater in the pension system or something like that. Something ridiculous. So the math of them being broke in their budget does not account for the broken pension system. It only accounts for their contribution to the pension system, not what the shortfall is in that pension system. So again, now we've been around a long time. I heard the song and dance a lot. But the math doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. So we need to be in the business, I think, of special questions, second questions. We need to be in the business of targeted investment, whether it's in capital and improvement or programs and things that we're looking to change in order to sustain ourselves. And we need to show that in a multi-year plan to the public. And it's rolling. So if you vote no on question 1, if it's the kind of thing that you can argue would be terrific to have and let the public vote, like full day K or the mental health agenda, and it fails, move on to the next thing. But if the question was, you have roofs that are approaching 30 years old that need to be replaced, and the answer to that is no, you're going to have to keep on mortgaging that to the next opportunity to have an election. In any case, school boards did say they were going to try to dig up the best and final answer on this. I think Joe Zara's office said the same thing. I think we should ask Gary Vinci as well. Only because what we did not get was, yeah, that's a great question, here's what your answer is. We got a lot of, got to think about that, let me make some phone calls and give you 48 hours to dig up an answer.
Right. All right.
Right, like it didn't scream confidence, it screamed
Yeah.
not really sure.
And then we're just waiting to hear back from that woman who I sent the email to and said, please reiterate what was spoken about.
Yes, right, yep,
So we'll have 4 opinions for Monday.
more than ever.
We should have an odd number of meetings. So you have one as a tiebreaker.
Okay, let's go to resolutions.
Okay?
We have three, two of them.
2. Just 2 opinions, right?
So we killed one.
Yes.
Okay, resolve that the board approve resolutions number 1 through number 11 and addendum resolutions 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Elliott, seconded by Ms. Ruski. Any questions or comments on these?
Yeah, I just have 2. On 2.1, the leave of absence, there's no return date on one of them, so I don't know if that's just an oversight.
No, it's not, because you see in the column begin date on or before, it says from June 8th to June 30th.
Okay, so that's,
So, yeah,
that's gonna be.
we could have put in there June 30th was the return date.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. And then the other one was similar under education, number 3. One of the case numbers doesn't have, that's missing information. Or not.
You mean on the lower right corner, because,
Yeah, the
It's just,
blank on the lower right.
no, there are only 5 HIV cases. Are you looking under the one that says HBW, CH 121, 120?
Yeah.
There,
and there was like the-
nothing's missing.
Oh, okay.
There are
was
only
thinking
5,
that it was
and there are
something
6
more about
cells.
cost. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, got it. Sorry.
In resolution number 5, where this is the second reading of the 2019-20 calendars, this final?
yes.
This calendar?
So this calendar, the 1920 calendar, not next year's calendar, the calendar after, because we want to have the calendars as far enough in advance, is essentially, aside from shifting the calendar by a day, essentially almost a mirror image of next year's calendar that we just recently revised, where the spring break has Good Friday in it, so we can have 4 snow days.
Okay. So plan ahead now, because we'll have that calendar.
Yes.
We did that, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah, we try to
Keep it
book
rolling 2 years out.
2 years out.
You want to see?
We're not gonna move this, right?
So next year, we'll board approve the 2021 calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go along.
Well, Lisa just wants to look at the addendum real quick.
Did you hand that to the agenda?
Yeah, I believe,
They were in the-
Dr.
they were in the-
Geni's here?
Yeah, he had put them out in the.
Oh, I should have read that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know what they are then?
Is that,
Here, I have.
This 2-pager on this.
They're on the back shelf as well.
Okay.
John, call the roll.
Is everybody good with the?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mrs. Bernardino?
I'm going to do this right. I'm going to say yes to 1 and 3 through 11, and addendum 1 and 2, and no to resolution 2.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mrs. Fresky?
Yes.
Mr. Cockledge?
Aye. Okay, that concludes tonight's meeting. We do need one more resolution, or do we do that because we're going to?
Oh, we are going back to confidential?
The board.
Oh, okay. Public comments?
Yeah, one second. So do we want to do that at the end after
We're
public
going to do
comment?
that after public comment.
Fine, okay, great. Okay, let's do public comment.
Carol Thomas, 9 Wilson Drive. And don't read anything to this question, I'm just curious, you know, curious. Yes.
Sometimes the questions are surprising.
Right now, our elections are in November, correct?
Yes.
So your question was, if we move everything, the people and the
Yeah.
special questions to April, I'll just say that makes a lot of sense. It just seems, from a taxpayer standpoint, if that was your question, moving everything to April for the.
So it's all or nothing. You have to move them
So
together.
you're checking to see if we,
So there
well,
was,
aren't we putting going in April anyway for the special, wouldn't the referendum be in April?
so referendum is separate. We're talking about the annual budget
Right,
and the board of person elections is the question.
right.
Not referendum, you can do.
Well, annual budget, we don't vote on anymore, right?
That's what we're talking about.
Because they would move to November.
Right.
So the question is, do we move it to April and vote on them instead? If it allows you to propose to the public in Verona an increase to the budget outside of the cap allows, the current cap.
I think like everybody else's opinion, that if that was how I understood it in the beginning, if you moved to November, then there was no vote in the budget. You could stay in April, but you had to vote, public vote on it. Anyway, I'm just
Yeah,
curious how.
so if I recall, you at the time, you were able to go beyond the cap. I believe this is what the answer is, but you get, looking to validate it, and everybody's memory is very foggy, and which is what it seems that the county superintendent, school boards, still haven't been able to answer. The way I recall it is that you had an implicit 2% increase to your tax levy portion of the budget on the revenue side, and if you went over that, you needed approval from the county to go over on the ballot, and then you could pose it to the public.
Right, that was everybody's, but now they're not, okay. Just
So
curious, 'cause that's the way I understood it.
That's the way I recall it.
Right.
Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I recall. If you moved to November, then you had to operate within the confines of your overall cap, which is 2% plus any waivers that you got, which have become thin and few and far between. Right? So but it would also mean that you're moving your elections off cycle, and you do run a very, very, very risky game when you do that, because the voter turnout in the districts that do it, there was just an article about this I saw maybe 3 months ago, not even in April. The voter turnout is very, very low. It's in I think it was in there's 18 districts, and I think in 6 of them, it was in the single digits of voter turnout.
If we move to April.
For the districts that still have elections in April.
In April, right.
Now, all of that said,
Right.
from what I understand, again, a little bit preliminary from school boards, but it's from the legal and legislative folks, they're going to double check it. They believe that you're not allowed to move it to April. You can't move it. There's no, because the legislation that lets you move it said once you move it, you can't move it back,
Right.
which is what we did, and just about every other school district did that. Clifton has taken the position that because that edict sunset, they're allowed to move it, and therefore they moved it. From what I understand from school boards is that they don't believe that's going to fly, because there's pending legislation that simply renews the old legislation, and therefore there's no window that you sneak through. And the only district in the state that has done it is Clifton. And from what I understand, there's no budget upside to doing it. What the county's telling us is if you needed to go over your 2% cap, no problem, you should just be doing second questions on the things that you need to fund that are over and
And
above
then
the
it raises your
2%.
general fund numbers.
It does raise.
It does raise your general fund numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Referendums,
Okay.
referendums,
Referendum's gonna add to your.
and referendums
But then
are,
it's stuck in the, yeah.
so referendums go into a referendum portion of the budget,
Right.
but second questions are binding and enduring, so they stay in your base budget.
Got it. Second questions as opposed to referendums.
Right.
Got it.
And just to interrupt 1 second, and the other risk you run is that the public will vote no,
Right.
and then you go to council.
It's worth a short conversation. Talking about school boards.
To be really specific though, as far as I can tell, there seems to be agreement that it's moved because you're not allowed to do it anyway. You're not allowed to move it back to people anyway.
Okay. Sorry, I know the answer to that, but I couldn't hear. Talking to school boards, I know that Cheryl and I will probably have this conversation. The ESA plan is supposed to be like 12,000, you said. Does that ACES that the school boards offer, is that the same, is that a repeat of?
So there's a couple of different things. The ESA,
You want to just explain to me later,
Yeah.
that's fine.
we could do that tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to point out that it's ironic, and I know it's contract, and there's really nothing we can do about it. If you look at resolution number 10, the substitutes are getting paid more than the paraprofessionals. And I just think it's of note that that's where we are now, and hopefully we'll get past that within a
Right,
reasonable
and
amount of
I
time.
think, Mr. Moriel was left to give an explanation of how that came to be, right? And how the math works out.
But you see how it looks as bad to me as it looks to you on the paper, it has to look bad.
It
So,
does. It does. I believe firmly that if anybody contemplated it on either side, they would have raised it at the time, and it got past the lot of all of us, including the mediator and everybody else. But nobody thought about this one. And for the public at hand, how we come up with that math is we simply take the daily rate of a substitute teacher divided by the number of hours working, and when you do that math, you end up upside down, where the cost of a sub is paid more than what the hourly rate is for
Because the
a
paras
chunk of the
subs get
paraprofessionals
the same as the
contract.
teacher sub, but sometimes the paras don't make that much in a day. But the para subs will make as much as the teacher subs, even though the paras don't
I think
make money in a day.
that's-
Yeah, sometimes, just clarify for people.
There is one sub rate that we have on the books, and it's by day, and then if we have to equate that to per hour, we divide it, so.
Yeah, no. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna close tonight's meeting out. The board is gonna go to confidential, so we'll read off a resolution to do that. Our next public meeting will be Monday night, the 18th, which is this coming Monday, because Tuesday night is graduation. So we'll see you then.
Resolved that the board meet in private session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the topics of negotiations and personnel or potential litigation, which private discussion is being held pursuant to Section 7B and 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act. The matters under discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as final decisions are made and voted upon. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?
All right, thank you.